I'm joined by Sarah Lim, Business Development Director at Halo Coffee. Thank you so much for joining me, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
Very good. And the way I like to start these conversations is by taking a step back and really learning about the problem that you and the team at Halo Coffee solve.
Okay, so we at Halo have produced a home-compostable coffee capsule, compatible with the Nespresso system.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for this was that in 2018 alone, 60 billion capsules were produced, and most of those will end up either in landfill or our oceans. And we didn't really think this was acceptable, not for the times we live in, and it's just an astronomical amount of waste to be produced in 1 year.
Yeah, 60 billion capsules is beyond. I don't even know what that
what it would look like. And in 2017, it was 59 billion. So it's
wow. So it's growing.
Every year it's growing. And we just found it astonishing.
It is astonishing. And so the problem you're solving is basically finding a new way to essentially create these capsules that are not detrimental to the planet.
Exactly. So we often get the question, Nespresso capsules are recyclable or X capsule is recyclable.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, by and large, most of the capsules on the market are recyclable, but they're not commercially recyclable because they contain various materials such as metal, plastic, lacquer, and they can't deal with this in a commercial recycling facility. So this needs to be taken away by the company themselves or whoever it is they work with. And this brings on transport costs and the carbon associated with that, and the process of recycling it, because there are so many materials going to specific factories in different locations, it all starts to add up. And the amount of energy that it takes to, burn off the lacquer, to get the silicone off the capsule, to smelt down the aluminium, it gets a lot. So the end of life has quite a large footprint as well.
Interesting. So, I mean, you may feel like you're doing good by recycling one of these standard capsules, but actually maybe doing more harm than good?
Potentially, but we found a way in which people don't need to cause that carbon output.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple swap for our consumers. It is exactly the same as an espresso capsule,
mm-hmm.
Just the way you dispose of it is different.
And what is the way that you dispose of it?
So our capsules are home compostable.
Mm-hmm.
They're made from waste sugarcane fiber, which is a byproduct of the sugarcane industry. And because of that material, it will break down in as little as 28 days.
Wow.
Which is quite different to everything else on the market.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, if the alternative is having to do that whole process you mentioned earlier, whereas what does home compostable mean? You've said the word home specifically, so why do you emphasize that?
So there are two different types of compostable products. There are home compostable and industrial compostable.
Mm-hmm.
Industrial composting requires much higher temperatures and specialist facilities in order to process things such as bioplastic, which is what most eco capsules are made of. So they are the same polymer as a plastic capsule, but the source is a renewable food source, say.
I see.
And the problem there is because bioplastics are quite new, the recycling facilities and the composting facilities don't have the infrastructure to process them. So the way in which they identify a bioplastic needs to be improved because they feel the same as an oil-based plastic, and the density is exactly the same. So what actually happens is they get incinerated or they end up in landfill. So even though it is a step in the right direction, the infrastructure just isn't there yet.
Right. So it almost sounds like as you're describing bioplastics, it almost sounds like the benefit of bioplastic is more about what it's made of rather than how it gets disposed.
At this point, yes. In the future, hopefully technology and the infrastructure will catch up
Yeah.
and they can be composted and used as fertilizer. But at this point in time, we just don't have the right infrastructure, which
Makes
is why
sense.
we found it very important to have a home compostable capsule, because you can, one, be sure that what you want it to be doing is happening, as opposed to industrial composting where you put it in your food waste, it goes away, but you don't know if it's being composted or it's being incinerated. It's, you keep that responsibility in your hands and you
Yeah.
know that you're actually doing good.
Yeah, it's awesome. So home composting means I really can just put it into my composting bin outside. I can just throw it into my garden, flower bed, anything like that, and it just turns into good fertilizer.
Exactly. And that's the other thing. You can use it as fertilizer once it's broken down.
Mhm.
And it's so exciting. What we like to do, sometimes we take the coffee grounds and we bake it into a cake, or you use it as fertilizer. We find lots of fun little things to do with capsules.
Sorry, did you say you bake it into a cake?
Yeah, so they use coffee grounds because they're not very strong.
Right.
It just adds a nice flavor to a coffee cake, and it's a little bit of fiber.
What do you do with the actual pod?
So we can just chuck that
Oh, I
into
see.
the compost.
I
Or the great thing about our capsule is it can go into any waste stream. So in the home composter, it can be recycled
Mhm.
with paper. If you take the coffee out first,
I see.
you can put it into food waste. And because of the way it looks, it will be accepted into that stream, because unlike bioplastic, it looks a natural material.
Mhm.
Or if you put it into your general waste bin, it will take a few years to degrade. But not many people know this. For context, a banana peel takes about 2 years to degrade in landfill because of the lack of oxygen.
Right.
So it can take a bit of time, but
But better
much
than
faster.
yeah, exactly.
It's 300 to 500 years it takes plastic and aluminium. So, we're a little bit quicker.
Yeah, a little bit quicker and hopefully actually good for the planet once it does
Yeah,
biodegrade. And
for fewer toxins.
exactly. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that you take the coffee grounds out of the. For some reason, when you
Yes.
said that you make a cake with it, first thing I pictured was just like coffee
Oh,
pod
no.
cake, and I was like, that doesn't sound that good. I mean,
Sounds
I'm
a bit
sure.
strange.
Yeah. So the pods are made. You said byproduct of the sugarcane industry. So
Hmm.
basically, sugarcane, the way I understand that is as companies or farmers harvest sugarcane, they're not going to use all the parts of the
Hmm.
actual plant, and there's going to be this byproduct that they would otherwise, I guess, throw away or burn or something. Is that
Yes, exactly. So we really are part of the circular economy in
mm,
that we take a waste product, make it into something else, give it a new life, and then give it back to the earth, or do something with it, like
yeah,
making it into a cake or growing plants out of it. And that is a principle we really like to adhere to.
yeah, that's really cool. I'm really curious about the sugarcane aspect. So where do you get the sugarcane byproduct from? Is it like I mean, where does it come from?
Yeah, this sugarcane comes from Asia, obviously, because it's not native to the UK.
Right.
So we source it from there.
And is that something that maybe this is going a little too far into the weeds, but out of curiosity, is that something that you pay the farmers for, or is that something that they're basically happy to give away because otherwise it's a big cost for them?
We do actually pay for the bagasse, as it's
Yeah,
known.
that's cool because I mean I think that's great. You're supporting farmers. You're basically
Giving
providing
them an additional income.
exactly, and
Yeah.
through that process, you're actually reducing waste, and the amount of the stuff that they burn is probably absolutely crazy. And if you're reducing that, it's excellent. What I love about Halo Coffee is you have the tagline, "The world's best coffees in a way that's best for the world."
Yeah, I mean, so up till now, people didn't tend to put very good coffees in a capsule because they thought it was a waste.
Okay.
And it's not something coffee connoisseurs really think highly of.
Right.
But when the concept was thought up, we didn't want to give consumers reason to not like it. For them to say, sure, the concept is great, but the coffee just doesn't add, anything
Yeah.
to my life. So we just have to make it the best.
Makes sense. Yeah. So not only are they doing good for the earth, but they're also motivated to because the coffee is so good. And so
Exactly.
what kind of coffees do you use in the pods?
By and large, we use speciality-grade coffees, which are coffees that score a minimum of 80 out of 100 on the specialty coffee grading scale, which means they have to be incredibly high quality, and every aspect of growing the crop needs to be very particularly tended to.
Right.
And yeah, we're quite particular about the quality of our coffees. We also have some Robustas, which do not have the same kind of standards as Arabica coffees, which are specialty grade, but we purchase the Robustas on the same kind of scale. They have to be, good scoring premium Robustas.
Got it. And how much do you look into, how the coffee is grown? For example, is it, grown sustainably, or is it more important to get the scores? I mean,
No, it's actually interlinked. So in order for it to be that high quality, the area surrounding the coffee needs to be well tended to, the earth needs to be healthy. It is all plays a part, because if the soil isn't healthy, you've not, given the coffee crop enough shades, various things like that, then the coffee will not be as high scoring as you need it to be.
That's awesome news, because that means, farmers are highly motivated in that case to take good care of the earth and the surroundings in order to get high quality coffee. And I imagine high quality coffee also gets a higher price.
Yes, exactly.
So even better.
Yeah, so it's about 3% of global yields qualifies as specialty grade.
What also is really cool, I thought, is not only is the pod and the coffee sustainable, also the packaging that you use.
Exactly. So when the idea came to be, our founders thought, why produce something completely sustainable and then wrap it in, layers of toxic materials and things that are bad for the planet?
Yeah.
And sometimes our customers will even call us out and say, this doesn't look like it's sustainable. Why have you done this? But all of our packaging around the capsules, it's all home compostable.
Wow. So just like the pods themselves, the packaging.
Exactly. We had to be consistent.
Yeah. Makes sense. So basically you can take the box that it comes in, throw it in your garden.
90 days, it'll all be gone.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the maximum amount of time.
That's really cool. So, why don't other companies do that? It seems like, if it's possible to do, why isn't everyone doing this?
So there are qualities that other materials have that the material we use doesn't, such as the shelf life. So with a metal or a plastic pod, you have several years. With our pods, you have 9 months. So it's small behavioral changes that aren't really very big, and I don't think people really notice them.
Hmm.
But when you've built an industry, as Nespresso has, and you are used to having things a certain way, it's hard to shift.
Yeah, makes sense. And so, in terms of actually buying the coffee, who's it available for? I know there's the subscription. So is that for anyone to use?
Yes. So when we first launched, our main focus was B2C, direct to consumer.
Okay.
And so our product can be purchased one-off. You can do bulk purchases up to 160 capsules because, as I mentioned, the shelf life is a little bit shorter.
Hmm.
Or subscriptions. So, from 1 week onwards, you can have delivery intervals of between 40 and 160 capsules.
That's really cool. And also, I noticed that businesses are able to purchase as well.
Yes, so this has been our focus for 2020. There are so many hotels and offices who care about the environment, who have sustainability missions, and we want to cater to them. So that is what we're looking to do this year.
That's cool. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense to provide it to businesses because, first of all, especially like you said, like hotels, it's something that I know in some lobbies they have it, like a nice coffee machine on the side there, or even in like lobbies of businesses as well. They have it there, and for guests to enjoy while they're waiting or whatever the case may be. And it's just so nice to be able to say these pods are environmentally friendly. They compost in 30 days. And it just, there's something about it's a really nice message.
It's an added touch, I
Yeah.
think, for guests or employees to have a really nice coffee and to learn the story behind the coffee. I think it's just a nice extra.
Yeah, absolutely. What are the Halo credits?
That is our loyalty program. So for your birthday, referring a friend, tweeting about us, sharing us on Facebook, you get a certain amount of credits, which you can then spend on coffee.
That's awesome. So the more you share, the more coffee you get.
Exactly. At the end of the day, we're still quite a young business, which we often forget. I think a year and maybe 6 months now we've been
Really?
operating. So yeah.
So how many do you focus only on the UK, or is it available worldwide?
We actually, from day one, we have shipped globally. So to date, we've shipped to about 70 countries.
Wow. Just as we're slowly starting to wrap up here, one question I love to ask is in terms of what you personally do on a day-to-day basis to be environmentally friendly, because you're spending during work, you're a champion for these reusable coffee pod, or not reusable, for these compostable coffee pods, and you're reducing a lot of waste that way. What else what else do you do to be environmentally friendly?
Yeah, I like to do various little things because I'm of the mindset that every small thing you do makes an impact. So I try to be largely plant-based. Not all the time, but most of the time. I've cut most dairy out. So people may not know this, but in your cup of coffee, if you add milk to it, the milk is the majority of the carbon in that cup.
Hmm.
So, I figured out which milks I like to pair with coffee, with tea, with cooking. And, you just need to do that little bit of exploration.
What are some tips that you have as far as which milks go with which ones?
So I found oat milk goes really well with coffee.
Okay.
Coconut milk goes really well with black tea, and soy milk with cooking.
Okay.
Is what I found.
That's interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Another thing is also being really conscious about every purchase you make. So just taking the few extra seconds to check the packaging to see if it's recyclable, or if there's an alternative, say for deodorant, do you need to be buying that plastic roll-on, or is there something made out of cardboard that you can be using, which is what I use. And just, the small little things whilst you're at the shop, I think those make a huge impact.
Yeah. What's this about cardboard deodorant?
Yeah, so there is a deodorant that I really love at the moment. It's called Earth Conscious, and there's no trace of plastic in it. It's just a cardboard tube, and when you're done with it, you just put it in the bin.
Wow. That's cool. It's amazing to see how many, and Halo Coffee is one of these. It's amazing to see how many innovative ways there are to do, what we once thought was this is the only way to do it.
Exactly.
Actually,
it's great to see all the advances.
Yeah. That's really cool. So yeah, I was going to say just about the oat milk. I've discovered that Oatly, the brand Oatly, their barista edition for oat milk is really good. And I actually find I think it goes really well in tea. Coffee too.
Ooh. Controversial.
Yeah, exactly. It's very controversial. And going back to Halo Coffee, I saw on your website that right now we're in the midst of coronavirus, as everyone knows, I'm sure. So what's Halo Coffee doing at this point to contribute?
So far, we have donated 1,000 capsules to the Royal Free Hospital in Hampstead, and from the months of April to June, every new subscription, fortnightly, we will be sending 2 boxes of coffee to the hospital for every new subscription within those months. We're also offering a 30% discount for NHS staff. So if you email us with your NHS email, we will give you the discount code for those subscriptions.
Brilliant. I think that's so important. The NHS staff, and they're working so hard. I've heard that they're working 10, 12-hour shifts. And it's just absolutely mental what they're going through there. So I'm sure a very nice specialty blend cup of coffee is appreciated. Hopefully, yeah. So that's amazing. So where can people go to start the subscription and contribute to reducing plastic, composting, and supporting the NHS all at the same time?
Yeah, we're on our website, www.halo.coffee. And if you're from anywhere in the world, you can get a subscription.
That's cool. And so anyone who subscribes, regardless of where they are in the world, will it contributes.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. I think that's such a great thing to do. I think it's important for businesses to give back as much as they can, because ultimately we're all in this together.
Exactly.
Yeah. On that note, Sarah, thank you so much for your time. Really fun to talk to you. I'm glad to hear that we are slowly but surely reducing the crazy capsule waste that's going on. And it's lovely to hear that you're doing it with the best coffee in the world.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, give us a 5-star rating. And also, please subscribe, whether on your podcast app or on YouTube. And that way you can be the first to know about new episodes. Thank you very much, and talk to you soon.